Okay, be great.
Dah. Okay. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone. Yang berbahagia Encik Aminuddin bin Abu Bakar, Director of the Teacher Training Institute Tun Hussein on Campus. Yang berusaha Dr. Muhammad Zairi bin Hussein, Deputy Director of the Teacher Training Institute Tun Hussein on Campus. Ms. Nani Johara binti Johari, Head of the Language Department Teacher Training Institute Tun Hussein on Campus. Mr. Ahmad Safwan bin Sulaiman, Course Coordinator for TSLB1114 English Language Skills in Academic Context, Teacher Training Institute Tun Hussein on Campus, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this panel discussion on teachers as nation builders in the digital era. Before we begin our discussion, I would like to briefly introduce the individuals who will be sharing their insights with us today. My name is Sarah Irdina, and I will be your moderator. We also have Fatih Al-Akil and Zamira Sofia. The three of us will be the speakers for today's talk show. Before we start, I would like to share 6 rules that apply in this talk show. First, please make sure your microphone is muted. This session will be recorded for educational purposes. Use the chat for networking. Feel free to introduce yourself, submit your questions in the chat anytime during the session. And lastly, please stay until the end of the session for the e-certificate. So without further ado, we will moving on to the segment 1, Teacher as Nation Builder. I will explain the concept and the overview about teachers as nation builder. In my opinion, teachers play a central role in nation building because they shape how students think, learn, and respond to the world around them from an early age. And educational research also found that a nation's long-term economic, social, and political development depends heavily on the quality of education its citizens receive. At the heart of this system are actually teachers who influence not only what students learn, but how they learn and why learning matters. So as we can see in classrooms, teachers actually develop essential cognitive skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and adaptability. So these kind of skills are increasingly important in a rapid changing world where students must be prepared for uncertainty, innovation, and lifelong learning. And without moving on to the next slide, research shows that students who are guided to think independently and reflectively are more likely to contribute positively to the society and to adapt to new challenges and participate actively in national development. Beyond academic and technical skills, research on character and values education highlights the deep influence teachers have on students' attitudes, ethics, and behavior. Teachers model values as um, responsibility, respect, discipline, and integrity through everyday interaction, especially in classrooms. So there's seemingly small actions how teachers actually manage classrooms, respond to mistakes, and treat others. It actually shapes students' understanding of leadership, fairness, and citizenship. And the most important part is these values often stay with students long after even they leave school a while. Studies also suggest that former students frequently remember their teacher not just for a specific lesson, but for the values they demonstrate in daily life. So this kind of situation reinforces the idea that teachers shape not um, only for competent workers, but also ethical citizens. Therefore, teachers are not simply just preparing students for examination or like employing for the future. They are actually nurturing individuals who can think critically, act responsibly, and contribute meaningfully to society. So, in this sense, nation buildings does not begin in government offices or economic plans. It actually begins in classrooms, guided by dedicated teachers who support both intellectual growth and also moral development. I think that is from my point of view. What do you think about it, Fatih?
Thank you, Irina, for the briefing. So, without wasting any time, I will tell you guys about my opinion. So, the shift from instructionism to constructivism. So, to initiate our discussion, we must analyze the evolving paradigm of the educator's role. within the modern classroom. The central thesis here is that the contemporary teacher functions not merely as conduit for information, but as a primary facilitator of higher order cognitive functions cognitive functions. Specifically critical inquiry, specialized skill, acquisition, and creative synthesis. In addressing the first point, we observe a transition toward developing robust problem-solving frameworks. Rather than prioritizing rote memorization, which offers diminishing returns in the digital age, we must implement inquiry-based learning. This methodology compels students to deconstruct complex variables and employ deductive reasoning, thereby strengthening their analytical resilience. Furthermore, regarding to the second point, the educator's objective is to cultivate an environment conducive to intellectual autonomy by fostering a culture of independent learning. We also shift the locus, we shift the locus of control from the instructor to the learner. This encourages a divergent thinking mindset where creativity is not an elective output, but a fundamental component of the academic process. So that's the only point from me. So turn back to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatih, for your very insightful and beautiful perspective. So, Zamira, what do you think about this segment?
Thank you, Irina. I really like Fatih's point early when he mentioned about critical thinking and independent learning because it is important for students to learn how to think for themselves so they can develop themselves better. Okay, now before we move to my point, I want all of you to look at the picture in the slide. So as you can see in the picture, there are a women stand in the middle, right? Okay, so the women represent a teacher. Okay, so now I have a question. Can a rocket launch by itself? Obviously cannot, right? Because a rocket needs direction, it needs force, and it needs preparation. So the rocket in this picture represents the students. Students have potential and they have energy. But without a proper guidance, that rocket might not reach its destination, or worse, it might crash. As you can see, there are planets in the picture. Each planet represents a career path: doctor, engineer, scientist, educator. So the teacher or the launcher is the one who determines how strong the launch is, how focused the direction is, whether the rocket reach the right planets. So my main point here is that teachers play a crucial role as they guide students explore different career pathways. They help students discover their potential, their talents, and there are a lot of ways a teacher can do to help their students, such as provide knowledge, give them some motivation, give some support. For the next point, teacher also help students develop skills, values, and competency. We can see this through continuous guidance by the teacher, maybe from the encouragement, support, and learning experience that the teacher provide in the classroom. And these values are actually something that is very useful to succeed in the future. And when a student successfully achieve their goals, they can later contribute something that is meaningful that can benefit our society. And at the end of the day, teachers are nation builders because the people they educate now are the one who will shape the future. So that's all from me for this segment.
Thank you so much, Zamira and Fatih, about your very insightful and amazing perspective. Now, moving on to the next segment. Segment 3, Impact of Digital Education, or we also known as how does digital education help teachers build the nation. So I think from my point of view, digital education has actually significantly transformed how learning takes place, extending education beyond a physical classroom into online platforms, homes, and everyday life. So research on digital learning environments show that students today are constantly exposed to information through digital devices. And I think this abundance of information makes the teacher's role more important, not less. And as students, you are required guidance to navigate, to evaluate, and interpret what they encounter online. And also, teachers play a critical role in developing students' digital literacy. This actually includes teaching students how to assess the credibility of online sources, distinguish facts from opinions, and avoid misinformation. Research also indicates that without proper guidance, students may accept information uncritically, which can affect their academic learning and social understanding. Studies also said on digital citizenship further emphasized that students must learn ethical online behavior, respectful communication, and awareness of the consequences of their digital action. Teachers need to guide students on issues such as cyberbullying, online etiquette, and responsible participation in digital spaces. This need to have done because to ensure that students do not become passive consumer of technology, but active, creative, and responsible digital citizens. In addition, digital education increases students' exposure to diverse culture, ideas, and global perspective. Research also suggests that when this kind of exposure is guided effectively by teachers or educators, it can actually promote empathy, cultural sensitivity, and global awareness. Teachers help students contextualize global context, encouraging respectful understanding rather than just superficial engagement. So, as a result, digital education influences not only individual learners but also families, communities, and society as a whole. Teachers need to serve as mediators between technology and human values, ensuring that digital learning supports national aspiration rather than undermines them. And I think that's all from me. How do you think about it, Fatih?
Honestly, that's such a what amazing perspective from you. I mean, explanation. So, without wasting any time, again, I will explain my point. What I feeling it about this segment. So, expanding upon these pedagogical structures, we must address the learner-centric model and personal growth. My core assertion here is that academic excellence is inextricably linked to the holistic development of the individual, which is a student. Success is defined by their capacity for self-regulation and interpersonal efficiency. In reference to the first point, a critical pillar of this growth is the optimization of collaborative and communicative competencies. In an increasingly interconnected global landscape, the ability to engage in cooperative intelligence, negotiating diverse perspectives, and artic- articulating complex ideas with precision is a prerequisite for professional success. We integrate this into the curriculum to ensure that communication is treated as rigorous academic discipline. In alignment with the second point, we must provide scaffolding for self-directed learning. This involves mentoring students in metacognition, which is the act of thinking about their own thinking. What does this mean? It means when we support a student's internal drive, we move beyond passive consumption and toward active lifelong scholarship. So this is my explanation for this segment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Fatih. I really appreciate the depth you brought to that topic, especially about the pedagogy. And Zamira, what do you think about this topic?
Thank you, Irina. So, as we know, in these days, education is no longer limited to textbook or classroom discussions. Digital technology now has transformed teacher to prepare students for the future, so they can later contribute something that is can benefit our nation. Or in other words, digital education helps teachers build the nation by preparing students to live and work in a digital world. So as we can see nowadays, almost every job involves technology, whether in business, healthcare, engineering, or education. Digital skills are everywhere, right? And we can see these examples in our classroom, our university, and even in college. So, for example, instead of asking students to just copy the notes from the board, teachers now encourage students to search information online and compare different sources. And this will help students learn how to find accurate information. And this is actually a skill that we will definitely need in our future. For another example is when the teacher asks the student to create presentation using tools like Canva, PowerPoint. I am sure almost all of you has experienced this, right? So fun fact, this way helps students work like professionals and give them skills that will be very useful in the future. So the other example is when the teachers use shared document or online platforms such as Google Drive or Google Docs for group assignment. So by doing this, students will learn how to collaborate online, which is exactly just like how companies work these days. So digital education allows students to experience real world working situation while they are still in school. When teachers use education effectively, which is technology, they are helping students become more adaptable, being the one who can contribute to the economic growth. So from this, we can clearly see that how did the digital education help teachers to play their role as builders in this digital era. So that is my point. Thank you. I'll pass to the moderator.
Thank you, Zamira and Fatih, for that perspective. So as we can see that it is undeniable digital education bring impacts even in society. So when we talk about this topic, this naturally leads us to our next point, the challenges in digital education. So I assume this segment has locked so many eyes and ears because this topic is something that you really need to focus. So, while digital education actually offers many benefits, educational research also highlights several ethical challenges that require careful attention. One major concern is academic integrity, particularly with the increasing use of artificial intelligence (AI) and automated tools. Studies show that when students rely excessively on technology to complete tasks, it can reduce the originality, critical thinking, and genuine learning. Research suggests that simply banning digital tools is neither effective nor realistic. Instead, teachers are encouraged to guide the student in understanding when and how technology should be used appropriately. So this approach positions teacher as ethical mentors um, who help students make informed decision rather than just as enforcers of strict rules. Another significant challenge involves data privacy and online safety. Students often lack awareness of how their personal information is collected, stored, and shared by many digital platforms. Research also highlights growing concerns about cyber risk, data misuse, and online exploitation, especially among younger and innocent learners. Teachers play a crucial and a vital role in educating students about digital safety. responsible data use, and ethical online behavior. By integrating this topic into everyday teaching, teachers can help students develop awareness and accountability in digital environment. These challenges reinforce the idea that ethics must be embedded within digital education rather than just treated as an optional or separate topic. I think teachers serve as a moral role and who help students navigate technological advancement while maintaining integrity, responsibility, and respect for others. So, having discussed the role and impacts and challenge, what do you think about that, Fatih?
So I do think that sorry, I do think that we also must critically examine the systematic friction points currently impacting the field. And also, we should know that the predominant challenge is that while technological integration offers vast potential, it simultaneously introduces significant hurdles to deep cognitive engagement and traditional instructional efficiency. Um, Regarding to the first point I just said, we are witnessing an over-reliance on automated digital tools. This technological dependency often results in cognitive offloading, where the students bypass the essential struggle of the learning process. As educators, our challenge is to ensure that technology serve as a cognitive amplifier rather than a substitute for rigorous mental labor. This leads to the second point, which is the marked decline in synchronous face-to-face interaction. The mediation of education through digital interface has, in some cases, deleted the effective dimension of learning, which is the subtle nonverbal cues and empathetic exchange that occur in a physical space. Reestablishing the social foundation is now a primary burden on the modern educator. So that's it from me. Thank you, Rina.
All right, thank you, Fatih. So, what Fatih said just now was indeed true. And Zamira, what do you think the challenges on digital education?
That is a really important point just now Fatih said about the over reliance on technology. There is also another challenge that we can ignore, the challenge in accessing technology. So this is a common problem that many teachers and students still face today. There are several problems that occur while using this technology. So let me show you a research by Arfa Afzal, 2023. So this research has been conducted among 400 students from diverse educational backgrounds. So we can see there the biggest barrier challenges to technology access is limited internet access as it is 40%. So in some areas, the internet is still unstable or inconsistent. Some students cannot just stay connected for a long time to join online classes or complete homework. So even me myself, I've experienced this many times, and it really disrupts the learning process. So imagine being a student who wants to answer a question or join a group discussion, but the screen keeps freezing or disconnecting. So it is equally challenging for the teachers too, because every teachers wants their students to learn together, but technology can sometimes create walls or separation instead. So another common challenge is the cost of digital devices. Digital learning often assumes that every student has a personal laptop, tablet, or smartphone, but in reality, not all students can afford can afford multiple devices, especially those with low income household. So next, there is the issue of limited computer skills, which usually affects teachers, especially the older educators, because many of them are experts in their subjects, but they are not being trained for online teaching. So this issue can disturb the lessons. Instead of just teaching, they may spend half of the class just to fix the technical glitches or figuring out how to share their screen. So as future educators, this remind us that teaching comes with challenges, and we need to be prepared to face this kind of problems. So that is my point.
Okay, thank you, Zamira. That is a great point, and I love how you highlighted the key challenges about lack of internet at home, about 40%. Now that we can turn our attention to future direction and the need for a balanced approach. Studies strongly support the need for a balanced approach to digital education, where technology enhance learning without replacing the human role of the teachers, while digital tools improve access to information, efficiency, and engagement. They cannot replicate the emotional intelligence, ethical judgment, and personal connection that teachers provide. So studies on effective digital pedagogy emphasize that meaningful learning occur when technology is guided by skilled and powerful educators who actually understand both pedagogy and students' need. Teachers provide emotional support, motivation, and feedback that technology alone cannot deliver. Professional development research highlights the importance of equipping teachers with both digital competency and ethical decision-making skills. Teachers must be confident in integrating technology thoughtfully, selecting tools that support learning objectives rather than allowing technology to dictate educational practices. So I think that's all from me. What do you think about it, Fatih?
All right. So I do think that we must consider the sustainability of the profession through the lens of professional development. The overreaching principle here is that pedagogical excellence is not static. It requires a commitment to iterative training and the continuous refinement of instructional strategies. As outlined in my first point just now, this necessitates consistent participation in high level pedagogical workshops. We must remain current with emerging educational psychology and evidence based practice to ensure our methods remain relevant to a diverse and evolving student demographic. Lastly, the acquisition of digital and artificial intelligence literacy is no longer optional. We must bridge the gap between traditional scholarship and computational logic. By mastering these tools ourselves, we can guide students in the ethical application of AI, ensuring that technology enhance human intellect rather than replacing it. Ultimately, the teacher of the future must be as technologically proficient as they are pedagogically sound. So that's all from me. Thank you, Rina.
Thank you so much, Fatih. What your perspective on this segment, Zamira?
So moving forward, so the future direction or the solution is to create fair and sustainable access for everyone. So, firstly, schools themselves can act as digital support center. For example, instead of expecting every student to have their own personal devices, school need to provide technological facilities such as updated computer labs, loan devices, or any reliable internet spaces that student can use during and even after school hours. So by doing this, teachers can confidently plan activities without worrying whether all the students can participate or not. So the next, is collaboration between schools, communities, and educational authorities, which is digital education should not exist only within the classroom walls. And another important aspect is to having a long-term plan. What does it mean is to ensure that everyone has the same good technology that will stay working for years. So, to sum up, digital education should act as a bridge, not as a barrier, because building a nation through digital education isn't about having the most advanced technology classroom, but it is about making sure every student has the chance to learn and succeed fairly in this digital world. So that's all from me.
All right, Zamira, you explained that beautifully, and I'm sure the audience found that very valuable. So, to bring our discussion together, several important themes have been highlighted today. From Fateh's speech, I can summarize that Fateh emphasized the theoretical foundation of teaching in the digital era, that highlighting the shift from traditional instruction to constructivist, learner-centered pedagogy. And from Zamira's speech, what can I summarize is Zamira's speech focused on the practical role of teachers as nation builders through digital education, using real-life examples and metaphors. She succeed to illustrate how teachers prepare students for future careers. So now, as we come to an end, um, we will now move into the question and answer session. Listener, you may ask any questions you desire. I'm sorry, Irdina, we can't read your message. Can you turn on your microphone, please? Thank you.
Okay, so right. For my first question, um, in what ways do teachers influence national development beyond exams, and how can this influence be strengthened in classroom practice? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Irdina. Now, another question, please.
Hi, good evening. So, my name is Irdina Azara, and my question is, how does digital education affect students' critical thinking, and how should teachers manage its risk in real classrooms?
I'm sorry, Irina Azara. Can you please repeat your question, please? Sorry, thank you.
So, my question is, how does digital education affect students' critical thinking, and how should teachers manage its risk in real classrooms?
All right, thank you so much. Now, the last question, please.
So the last question, my second question is, how serious is digital inequality in affecting students, and how can schools reduce its long-term impact? Thank you.
All right, thank you for your very brilliant question. I hope you guys can give us 2 minutes of space for us to discuss what to answer for these questions. Thank you.
All right, so um, I will answer the first question from Irina Shafika. So your question is, what ways do teachers influence national development beyond exams, and how can this influence be strengthened in classroom practice, right? Okay, so the answer is, teacher influence national development student by shaping student mindset, values, and behavior, and also not just their grades. So I'm giving an example. When teachers encourage critical thinking, students learn how to analyze issues instead of blindly accepting information. When teacher model honesty and responsibility, students develop strong character. And also it is to strengthen this influence. For strengthen this influence, teachers can design activities that promote discussion, problem solving, and real life applications. They can also consistently model good values in daily interactions. Small classroom actions can create long-term national impact. So I hope my answer is clear for your question. Thank you.
Okay, for the question number two, the question is, how does digital education affect students' critical thinking and how teachers manage this race? So back to the fact, digital tools can really help students by comparing information and solving problems. But if the students rely too much on AI or ready-made answers, they might stop thinking for themselves, which is bad for their development, for their critical thinking. So teachers can help by asking students to explain their reasoning and combine online research with their own ideas. So that is my answer. Thank you.
All right, now I'll be answering Irina Azahra's second question. So since our time is almost come to an end, I will make it short and simple. So to answer how serious is digital inequality in affecting students and how can schools reduce its long-term impact? So my answer is a student without devices or internet may fall behind, widening the achievement gap and limiting the opportunities. And also responsible parties like schools can provide shared devices, offline materials, and flexible deadlines and improve lab access. And I also personally think that collaboration with community helps to ensure no student is left behind. And I think that's all from us. Um, so yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining today's conversation that remind us that while tools and platforms may change, the purpose of education still remain constant and the same. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your participation.
Thank you for tuning in.
Okay dah.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you our active listener.
Thank you, Regina Shafika and Irina Azahra.